Hello, everybody. Thank you for introducing me. As you can see, the theme of this session is all about food, okay, apparently, and people still having food over there. As you can see, food is part of our culture, part of our identity. Sometimes we express ourselves using food. It is also sometimes it's kind of an indulgence. However, recently we have noticed through literature that obesity rates and unhealthy eating behavior has resulted unhealthy eating behavior has resulted in obesity and other health-related issues like diabetes, as well as heart issues. There are so many factors contributing to obesity and unhealthy eating patterns, identified in literature being less physical activity or even the food advertising, which is my main focus. When it comes to children specifically, they are prone and vulnerable towards ads in general. Due to their nature, children are not developed yet in terms of brains. According to BJ, which is a scholar in psychology, he states that children are underdeveloped when it comes to their brain. They lack the frontal cortex, which is used in decision making. So according to that, they are not able to process advertising correctly. It means that they don't understand that this is an advertisement. It is meant to influence them. It is not necessarily true. It is not necessarily made in their best interest. It is actually made for to influence you and to make you buy their stuff. In particular, increasing rate of obesity among children has drawn so much attention in literature, and it's calling for interventions. For my research, actually, why did I do that? There are so many consumer policy or policymakers, also scholars, concerned parties telling us that, okay, these rates of obesity and unhealthy eating patterns are really skyrocketing. We need to intervene in order to mitigate those effects. Of course, for this purpose, for us to understand how advertising actually is contributing to that problem, we have to understand the processes and the theories of advertising and how advertising really works. So we have so many advertising models, actually more than that, but I narrowed down these three, like IDA, Hierarchy of Effects, and DEGMAR. Basically, the three of them talking about how advertising can affect you. There are some cognitive effects, affective effects, and behavioral effects. So when it comes to cognitive effects, it means it is affecting your process of thought. Okay, so grabbing your attention and like giving you some knowledge. And for the second one, affective or feelings, it will spark interest, desire, preference, conviction. So it will change your behavior. Okay, it will ultimately change your behavior, which is in the next step, which is the behavioral effect. So it will take all these things like the cognition and the emotion, it will come into action and you will purchase. For you to understand that in consumer behavior way, now I talked about advertising, now it's in consumer behavior literature. These three stages also available. So in the first stage, you have when you are aware of the advertisement, then you have the persuasion and attitude change. So in that stage, we are aiming at changing your attitude. The second stage, which is the judgment decision making, it means we are now changing your feelings and making you desire and like the product. The final stage is actual decision if you are going to buy or not. However, in each stage, you can go either S1 or S2, System 1 or System 2. Okay, so let me explain what does that mean. So for System 1, okay, it is more on the automatic side. It means your emotions come into play. For the first one, which is the first stage, you will go for heuristic. It means that you will not be thinking, okay, and using your brain. You'll just have your feelings. Okay, the same goes for the second step. Okay, you will use your intuition. For the third step, it is more of you will buy impulsively. It means you will not think about it. You will go in the moment and then just buy. Okay, so this is System 1 or S1. Or you can go for the other route. Your brain is available and you are thinking. So you are going to systematically evaluate everything, and you will do some analytical thinking, and then you will reflect on your decision and then buy. So we can go either way, but we are adults. We can control. We can control ourselves. We can control our impulses for the most part. Okay. But when it comes to children, it is a different case. As I stated before, children do not possess the cognition or the cognitive development in order for them to use S2, which is the central route or the analytical thinking route. So they mostly go for the heuristic or automatic side. This poses a danger. Okay? It means that children cannot understand if this is harmful for them or not. However, there are some scholars who introduced some models in order to understand at least how these processes are going through their minds, going through the children's minds. Okay, so this is one of the models. It has been introduced. It's just basically explaining why children go for the automatic processing, or S1, rather than S2, which is the central route. It's because sometimes commercialized messages or the advertising itself, it requires a lot of brain activity in order for children to understand it. However, the resources allocated or their brain might not be able to process these messages. Okay, whether they are not developed yet, or they are engaged in something else, so they are not concentrating and paying attention that actually this is an advertisement. So you can see when, I don't know if I have one there, okay, yeah, here. Okay, so it's working, yeah. For the first one, okay, for the first one, which is when you have the resources required and the resources available, both of them are low, okay, it means that the message, okay, does not require a lot of thinking. The message, I mean the persuasive message, which is the ad, it does not require a lot of thinking. However, also the child is busy with something else. Maybe he's scrolling through Instagram and then something popped up, or he's watching a movie and there is a product placement. Okay, so they're not paying attention. Plus, the message is not that much of heavy that requires really analytical thinking. So they will go for the automatic or S1 again. And if the required, okay, resources is high and the attention is not there, still the child will not pay attention to the message itself. Still will go for S1. And for the third one, which is here, this one. Okay, if the resources allocated are high, but the message is trivial, still the child will not also process information because there is nothing to process. So again, it will go to S1. Only when both of them, okay, the required resources and the allocated resources are both of them high, the child will start thinking and analyzing things. So as you can see, these chances are not looking good for children. Okay, so of course scholars has proposed some interventions or some intervention measures in order to lessen the effect of, what did I do? What did I do? Okay, to lessen the effects of advertising. Okay, so one of the current interventions that are found in literature, it is advertising literacy, is basically a training that is done to children in order to make them understand what is an advertisement. So Austin and Johnson in 1997, they applied some sort of social experience, we can say it's an experience, and they trained some children. They had two groups. Okay, one group, they trained them to recognize and understand what is an advertisement, and the second group, they did not train them. So they noticed that after the training, the group that was trained actually showed some skeptical thoughts, and they understand that this is advertisement, and they were actually less inclined to fall into these false claims. However, the other group that was not trained showed inclination towards believing these ads. And they tried with the same groups after a few months, and still the training was still effective. And this is an agreement with Roberts, which was another scholar in 1980. He did almost the same thing, and it shows that it's okay, it is effective. However, the advertising literacy has its limitations. The first thing is that advertising literacy is an intervention that is basically done at the time of exposure when it comes to advertising. However, it is not that much effective at the time of purchase. So advertising literacy is limited to some sort of, let's see, time frame. Another thing is, since children, as I said before, lack the cognition abilities to understand, for them to stop and think, oh, this is an advertisement, is a lot to ask from them. Some of them will not be able to spot an advertisement because simply it is embedded advertisement or product placement or what we call stealth marketing. It's under the radar, it's embedded, especially what we see now in social media. It is embedded, it's not shown. Plus, the social media is very highly integrated and engaging media, so children will not stop and think, well, this is an advertisement. I should now start my, advertising literacy training. Oh, this is an ad. So in order for advertising literacy to work, the child must stop and think, oh, this is an ad, this is a selling intent, and I should not believe what they are saying. So this is the biggest limitation of advertising literacy. The child cannot do that sometimes. Okay, so other shortcomings of existing models. Existing models mainly concentrate on TV advertising, not social media advertising. Since, as I said, social media advertising is highly integrated, embedded, which needs really high resources or brain to, the children should focus their brain and think, so the resources should be available. As I said, current models focus on intervention only on exposure, which is the first stage, not on the second stage. So what I'm proposing, actually, that we can put some interventions or introduce some interventions.
2 minutes only.
Okay. Oh my God. Okay, so I'll go through this. Okay. So we have interventions. Which is parental interventions, actually, in the 2 stages. One in the first stage, which is at the time of exposure, and then at the later stage before the purchase decision. These parental interventions can be effective, according to literature, in order to lessen or mitigate the effects of advertising, food advertising. As you can see, these are my hypotheses. I'm trying to talk quickly. So for the first parental intervention, you have co-viewing. It's basically monitoring. You are co-viewing with your child. You are monitoring what they are seeing in social media. Rules of use, it means that you state some rules, like you cannot watch so many hours, or you cannot use social media for so many hours, or you are forbidden from using Snapchat, for example. You are not allowed to use that program. Parent-child communication, it's actually when you are communicating with your child and stating for them, this is an advertisement, this is wrong, this is right. So this is at the time of exposure when the child sees the advertisement. On the other side, that second intervention, it's at the time of purchase, which is imitation of parents. You set an example for your children. You buy healthy stuff so they can follow you. Goal setting, it means that you reward them when they do something correctly, okay? And you set goals for them. And then if the heuristic strategy, it means you train them to choose healthy foods when they see unhealthy food. For example, if you see soda, just go buy water. That's sort of a training, another intervention and training. So these are the interventions that I'm proposing. This is the methodology, and to sum it up, I used quantitative methods, quantitative method, questionnaires, and I sent them to parents. Okay, the scale is the native scale is parents of children between 8 to 12 in the GCC region. Okay, so I did some data analysis using SPSS and structural equation modeling because I have moderators and mediators. I'll go quickly. Okay, so these are the hypotheses. Okay, these are the hypotheses, and you can see the path coefficient and the t-values for them. And as I expected, the hypotheses are accepted with different variations, as you can see. And for the results, it's quite enlightening to see that actually we can gain power back as parents. Okay, we should not blame social media. We don't blame we don't let social media raise our children. We don't let advertisers raise our children. We should take power back. You have the power. Use the power. This is very good that you can actually influence your kids' life.
Thank you, Ms. Al-Abbas. Thank you.
Okay.